optimist celebrating New Year's and a pessimist. You know what the difference is? An optimist stays up till midnight to see and celebrate the new year in. A pessimist stays up till midnight to make sure the old year leaves. So whichever way you're going to do it, we'll do it with great joy today, okay? And today we're having our burning bowl ceremony. Wow. You know, I used to almost be embarrassed sometimes to publish it because it sounds like some wild pagan ritual, doesn't it? The burning bowl, like we're going to burn a chicken or something. But what we're really going to do today is release the baggage that's holding us back. Release everything that no longer serves us so that we can consciously go forward into this new year. Consciously. You know, someone reminded me that when you're walking and taking a step, your body almost physically moves forward because it has to let go of the previous step in order to step into the next step. And so that's what we're going to do today, is start that conscious step. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else, right? And I don't know about you, but my default takes me all over the place. I never know where that default is going to take me. So we're going to write a letter to ourselves later in the service. Writing a letter to ourselves to clarify who and what do I want to be this year. And it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. Maybe it's just being kinder or more aware or more awake, whatever Spirit tells you in meditation. And then later on in the year, we'll send it to you, surprise, to see what you wrote at the beginning of the year. So the words for today are release and write. Release your default response to life, and write what you want to consciously create this year. You know, in Unity, we don't do a lot of ritual, do we? But there's an old saying, as within, so without. Well, the reverse is also true. When we do an outer ritual, it shifts something inside of us as well. So that's what we're hoping for today. What needs to shift to get me going in a new and more expanded direction in my life? And I found a great prayer for New Year's Day. I apologize because it's a little more traditional in its language. But if you feel like using it, this is the one I use and will use this year, New Year's Day. So here it is. Dear Lord, so far this year I've done well. I haven't gossiped. I haven't lost my temper. I haven't been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or overindulgent. I'm very thankful for that. But in a few minutes, Lord, I'm going to get out of bed. And from then on, I'm probably going to need some more help. Is that your prayer on New Year's Day? We all do the best we can, don't we? Somebody you need help with this year. What would you like to shift? You know, a rudder on a ship, if it just shifts just a little bit, it changes the whole direction of where it ends up. And I always say, be sure to ask God what you should release. Because me, I take the easy way out. I think I'll release eating broccoli this year, you know? Doesn't that sound easy? Where God laughs at that. There's probably something I need to release a lot more than broccoli. So listen, ask God, what would benefit me to release? And then if you want to, you can all say, oops, let's practice. Oops, oops. Okay, no, you need to practice that together. Oops. There you go. Someone once said the past is just a lesson, not a life sentence. And most of us need to release the past. Mentally, emotionally, physical, all that. Past programming, past responses to our life. But first we have to reset our mental default setting. Where does your mind go when you're not paying attention? I don't always want to go along with my mind where it rambles all over the place. Where does your mind go when you're not paying attention? You know what I noticed about last year? It seemed I need to lighten up. It seems like last year I spent a lot of time focusing on what was going on out there instead of focusing on the power of the presence in here. Just that little shift can make all the difference between insanity and tapping into your inner power. So here's the most important thing to know is our mental state of mind triggers our emotional baggage, and then it ends up in the physical. Let me repeat that. Our mental states of mind triggers the emotional baggage that we all carry. And it often ends up in the physical body or in our life. We may need a bigger bowl this morning. What do you think? We may need a bigger bowl. Now, mentally and emotionally, they all show up in physical. And it happens that way in your life. So you can see it, feel it, and deal with it. Whatever's in front of you is there so you can see it, acknowledge it, and deal with it. It's not always pretty, but often we don't deal with it until we can really see it in our life. So if your body is experiencing tight, tense muscles, release the resistance to what is. If you're exhausted, I love the Course in Miracles. It says constant judgment is exhausting. Don't we live in judgment 24/7? If you're sickness and pain, what are you holding on to? What is eating you? If your nose is running, you drop the Kleenex. So that's what you have to do. There we go. Thank you. Talk amongst yourselves. Now, our feeling nature is the power behind the thought. We talk a lot about our thoughts in unity, but the feeling nature is the power. And so if you desire health, release all the stress and tension and resistance so the life force can flow through. If you desire prosperity, release all those feelings of lack and limitation and separation from your source. And if you desire union or relationship, let go of the separation thinking. All that's your fear-based thinking needs to go. And then don't get me started on physical clutter. Those in here who know me and work with me know that I'm a decluttering queen. Because clutter reflects whatever we're holding on to, whatever is getting in the way of our good, whatever is blocking the flow in our life. And the more clutter you have, the more you're holding on to. So when you release clutter, it frees up the energy in your life. Things can flow again. Spirit can get in. Now ultimately, all healing is on the spiritual level. Knowing your union with source and substance. And that takes releasing all that old religious programming of fear and separation, of guilt and judgment, of unworthiness. I grew up every Sunday saying, Lord, I am not worthy. Oh my, God, help me. In unity, when I came here, it was like, oh, wait a minute, I can have whatever I have faith to feel worthy enough to receive. Would you like to repeat that with me? I can have whatever I have faith to feel worthy enough to receive. Together, I can have whatever I have faith to feel worthy enough to receive. And I know some people have trouble letting go. Do you all have scratch marks in your life from holding on and not letting go when the universe is trying to get you released? Well, I found a story I'd like to read to you today. It's one of my favorites. It's an insurance claim. That sounds really boring, but this is an insurance claim that a man sent into his insurance company because he too was sometimes found it hard to let go of things. So here it is. You ready? He says, remember, this is an insurance claim. I'm writing to you in response to your request concerning block number 1 of the insurance form, which asks for the cause of injuries, wherein I put inability to let go. You said you needed more information, so I trust the following will be sufficient. I'm a bricklayer by trade, and on the date of the injuries, I was working alone laying brick around the top of a 4-story building when I realized that I had about 500 pounds of brick left over. How many pounds? 500. Remember that, there'll be a quiz later, okay? Rather than carrying the bricks down by hand, I decided to put them into a barrel and lower them by a pulley which was fastened to the top of the building. I secured the end of the rope at ground level and went up to the top of the building and loaded the bricks into the barrel and flung the barrel out with the bricks in it. Then I went down and untied the rope, holding onto it securely to ensure the slow descent of the barrel. As you will note on block 6 of the insurance form, I weigh 145 pounds. Due to my shock at being jerked off the ground so swiftly, I lost my presence of mind and forgot to let go of the rope. Between the second and third floors, I met the barrel coming down. This accounts for the bruises and lacerations on my upper body. Regaining my presence of mind again, I held tightly to the rope and proceeded up the side of the building, not stopping until my right hand jammed in the pulley. That accounts for the broken thumb. Despite the pain, I retained my presence of mind and held tightly to the rope. At approximately the same time, however, the barrel of bricks hit the ground and the bottom fell out of the barrel. Devoid of the weight of the bricks, the barrel now weighed 50 pounds. I again refer you to block number 6 of the insurance form with my weight. As you would guess, I began a rapid descent. In the vicinity of the second floor, I met the barrel coming up. This explains the injuries to the legs and lower back. Slowed only slightly, I continued my descent, landing on a pile of bricks. Fortunately, my back was only sprained and the internal injuries were only minimal. I'm sorry to report, however, that at this point, I again lost my presence of mind and finally let go of the rope. As you can imagine, the empty barrel crashed down on top of me. I trust that answers your concern. Please know that I am finished holding on and not letting go. Now, are you ready to let go? Does that give you some incentive of what happens to us when we don't let go? But remember, ask God, ask the inner divine, your higher self, that part of you, that higher part of you that is you on a higher level. What would benefit you the most today to let go of? I've got to give up the idea that it's only a piece of broccoli. There's probably a lot more I need to let go of. And then when we're in meditation, the other thing we're going to do, 2 things. One is, what should I let go of? But then what should I consciously create this year? What would be a great plan for me? Something to do or something to be? How can I be this year? A quality to express. Someone once wrote down courage and audacity. Isn't that a fun one? Maybe it's something to have. There's no right or wrong. Only you and your higher self knows. And be willing to be surprised. Oh my, I would never have thought of that had it not come to me. It could be something mental, something emotional, something physical, or something spiritual. And speaking of physical, it's not wrong to desire something. You know, some people think it's wrong to pray for a thing. No, if you really want a red Ford Mustang convertible, go for it. Go for it, whatever it is you'd like. And then have faith, which is the perceiving power of the mind to shape the substance around you. So go ahead and shape some substance today into whatever form you'd like it to take. Of course, there's the age-old question. Should I be general or specific? And there are 2 schools of thought. You know, some people say, hey, if you really want a red Mustang convertible, go for it. That's what you should envision. But remember my story I told not too long ago about when I really wanted to keep my Jeep, my burgundy red Grand Cherokee Jeep. It was getting old and I kept putting more and more money into it. And God had a better idea to get a Honda, and I didn't like that idea, but the Honda's been the best car I ever had, remember? So it's up to you. If you really want a specific thing, go for it. Sometimes I don't trust myself enough, and I prefer to say the best that I could have in this area. God knows. It's up to you. Perfectly up to you. But ultimately, all healing is spiritual. All healing has to take place on the spiritual level. Knowing your union with God, not a separate old man in the sky, but your union with the divine that flows in and through us all. So here's how we're going to do this. First, we're going to do the offertory to get that out of the way. And because once we start this ceremony, we're going to want to stay in that meditative mode. And then we're going to go into meditation, and two things we're going to ask for: what to release and what to write in your letter. But don't write the letter till after the meditation. I'll give you time to do that. Be willing to be surprised at what Spirit gives you. Now, in your bulletin, you've got an envelope. And if you could look in that envelope, you should have two pieces of paper in there. Now, this is another thing. Listen closely. There'll be a test. This long sheet of paper is a half sheet of paper. That's to write your letter on after meditation. But this little tiny piece of flash paper is to write one or two words, a few words on what it is you want to release. We don't need the whole story of your life on here. We don't need somebody done me wrong. Just write a brief 2 or 3 words, what it is you'd like to let go of. And then we're going to come up to the burning bowl. And have you ever used flash paper? It goes puff. It goes flash. Maybe I should demonstrate so you can see. We're going to light the, first we're going to light the Christ candle, representing a Christ light in each one of us. We're going to do this later, but I'm going to do it now. Kind of fold it after you've written on it what you want to release. And don't be afraid, because flash paper goes puff. You ready? Oh, the other thing is, a lot of people come up and lay it on top of the flame, and if enough people lay it on top of the flame, it puts the candle out. So go to the side, let it go poof, and let it go to the side of the candle. Does that sound good? So which paper are you going to use to release? The flash paper, the little paper. And which paper are you going to write your letter on? The big half sheet of paper. Okay? And then when you get back to your seats, you can address it. Put your name and address on. We're going to collect them. And somewhere in this new year, we're going to send it to you. When you least expect it, it'll come in the mail. And you can see what you wrote to yourself this year. So you can write anything you want to write to yourself. You can even write, "It's okay, I still love you," even if you didn't accomplish any of the things you were going to. You can write whatever you want to yourself, okay? Now, to keep the ritual sacred, we're going to do the offertory now. In the same way, we're going to ask the Holy Spirit, what could I give today? Ask the Holy Spirit. But first, we're going to start with our offertory music, okay?
Let's continue this morning's celebration by singing "God is My Source."